start our presentation. We're going to talk about round 4 of the Susquehanna Greenway mini grant. Second while that loads. I'm not sure about there we go. Okay. Okay. All right, so I'll go ahead and kind of give you guys an overview of the mini grant here and answer any questions that you guys might have. Feel free, like I said, to raise your hand and we'll hopefully answers your question. So, one of the things about our the Susquehanna Greenway mini grant is just is that we are looking, for you guys to help further SGP's mission and vision through the work that you're doing through these projects. So I wanted to go over that a little bit with you. Our mission at the Susquehanna Greenway Partnership is to work hand in hand with local, state, and national partners to complete the Susquehanna Greenway Trail Corridor and create resources that open the outdoors to everyone, ensuring all can experience the beauty and adventure of the Susquehanna River. And we envision a vibrant greenway that weaves together communities, trails, natural spaces, transforming the Susquehanna River corridor into a place where adventure beckons, connections deepen, and the river's beauty inspires. So, hoping that the projects that you guys have in mind kind of fit within that framework of the work that we're doing here at SGP. Here on the screen, I have a snapshot of our interactive map. And this map shows the Greenway corridor so that you can kind of see if your project falls within the Greenway. This map also is a resource for where water accesses, parks, communities and river towns, and land trails and water trails are. So there's a lot of good information here. This is on our website on the interactive map. This will also allow you to see if the location that you have in mind for your project is actually in the Greenway corridor. So I have listed here the 22 counties that the Greenway corridor does go through. One requirement for the grant is that the organizations and projects are within one of these 22 counties. I do have them kind of sorted here by branch. So we have this, the first few are on the West Branch, which is this section here. We have the North Branch, which we have this little piece here, and then the rest of the North Branch coming down this way. After the confluence, we have the middle section, and then below Harrisburg, we have the lower section. So just want to make sure that your projects are within one of these 22 counties. And then also, to narrow it down a little further, within this green ribbon here that is the Susquehanna Greenway corridor. Your organization does not need to be located actually within the Greenway, but the project does. So here's just a little map we have of some of our past projects. Susquehanna Greenway Partnership had a mini grant program back in 2014 and 15, and then we just restarted the program again in 2023. And this is actually round 4 then of the new starting over with the mini grant in 2023. You can see these are pins of some of the most recent projects that the mini grant has funded over the last couple years since restarting. The goal of the Susquehanna Greenway mini grant program is to support partners and communities like yours as they work to advance projects and programs within the Greenway. We do have $40,000 available to give away this round, and the application deadline is at the end of October. Categories: outreach and education, wayfinding and signage. Actually, we have parks, trails, and active transportation, and then temporary placemaking. This also includes accesses, water trail accesses, parks, land trails, water trails, and any sort of active transportation projects. Okay, so a few of the guidelines sort of for our mini grant here. So the max request is $10,000. You are allowed to submit more than one application. However, only one project will be funded. Uh, we do require a 50-50 match or 1-to-1 match. That can be cash or non-cash or any combination of the two. Both cash and in-kind value count the same towards that match. One stipulation is that match cannot originate from other DCNR funds. So SGP receives funding from DCNR to support this mini grant. And so DCNR funds cannot be then used to match. And the match, whether it is in kind or not or cash, must be expended or completed during the contract period. Projects must acknowledge SGP and DCNR as funders, and that might look a little different depending on the nature of your project. So anything that is printed or digital or like a signage project, it's very easy to include a logo and an acknowledgement. If it is some sort of intangible project like a program, there may be other ways that we can acknowledge SGP and DCNR. So that will be a case-by-case basis. But before anything is printed or fabricated or sent to a printer, we just want to make sure we have an opportunity to review that and make sure that we've got the proper logos up there and all of that. We do not require ongoing progress reports throughout the whole process, but any questions that you might have, obviously, of course, we're here and available to answer questions throughout the process and give you support. If you're not sure if you're within the guidelines, absolutely, you can reach out at any time. And then, like I said, any sort of anything that needs to go for print or fabrication, we would just like the opportunity to review it before you send anything away for completion. The contract period is January 1, will be January 1, 2026 through October 31st of 2026. So it is a little bit of a tighter, not a full year, a 10-month contract period with closeout due at the end of November. So you do have 30 days after your contract period to get the closeout information to us. And then sort of just some general guidelines as far as eligible reimbursement costs. The way the money will be distributed to you upon contracting would be that you receive 80% of the grant up front, and then 20% would be reimbursed upon closeout. Listed here are examples of eligible, or the list of eligible reimbursement costs. So contracted professionals, in-house professional costs, other actual direct project costs, travel if associated with the project, and like I said, only cost accrued within the grant period. So anything that is purchased before that January 1st deadline or after October 31st would not be able to count. As far as applicants and who is eligible to apply, any 501c3 nonprofits just must be registered with the Bureau of Charities in Pennsylvania. Any public entities, counties, municipalities, municipal agencies. Public education institutions, and then obviously, again, one more time, within the Susquehanna Greenway corridor. And Emily had a question here about travel. Yes, so that would definitely be included as an eligible cost. So she was asking if shuttles during a programming, so I'm assuming something like if you needed to pay for a shuttle, like for a sojourn or something like that, where you would need to shuttle people from point A to point B. If that is part of your program, then yes, that would be an eligible cost. A few examples here of ineligible reimbursement costs. Expenses prior to the start or after the end of the contract period. Grants, scholarships, fellowships given to third parties. indirect costs, general operational costs, or overhead not associated specifically with the project, award items, free giveaways, promotional items, or promotional materials, purchasing of operations, computer, camera, etc., and maintenance, for example, lawnmowers, chainsaws, etc., equipment. Any sort of political activities, legal disputes, lobbying, or fundraising activities are not eligible. Property easements, acquisitions are not eligible. Food, drinks, or other hospitality items related to general promotion or grantee organization. So there are some eligible costs for food that is provided. For example, if you're doing a sojourn and you are providing a meal during that sojourn or during that specific meeting, but generally not just generally not food and drinks and hospitality items, unless it is directly related to the program that you are running. However, money spent on food and drinks can also be used as match. So even if you can't bill it as a direct eligible cost, it can count towards your match. So just a list here of some eligible forms of match, additional costs, donated professional services, volunteer time, equipment use. So if somebody donates the use of a piece of heavy machinery and that has an in-kind value, it could also be a donation of a venue space. If that has a value, a rental value that they are donating the use of that space for you for free, or anything similar to that. And if you have any questions about, what you can or cannot use as match, please reach out. We're happy to help that. I do have a question come in. Is there a specific designated corridor width? For instance, would signage along our Lycoming Creek Bikeway, which will link into the Riverwalk, be eligible? So yes, that a portion of a big chunk of the Lycoming Creek Bikeway is in the Susquehanna Greenway corridor. And so that trail as a connector trail to the Susquehanna Greenway corridor would be eligible. Okay, so I just wanted to put the website up here again. I'm going to go over our application and the process here just a little briefly, and then if there are any other questions, we're happy to answer those. So I did put the specific website up here. If you have not already visited our website, we do have a lot of this information. There is a copy of the guidelines that you can print as a PDF. There is also a preview of the application in a Word document. So if you wanted to work on that or collaborate on that before you went into the online form and filled that out, that is available as a Word doc on our website as well. So here I just have a little snippet of what our application looks like. So you would just fill out these forms going down through the application. So we would prefer that you use the online application and that there is a spot to upload all of the supporting documents, whether it's maps or photographs, letters of support. If there are no requirements for letters of support, but if you have letters of support, and any sort of budget documents or any sort of extra things that need to be attached, there is a location at the bottom of the application to upload all of those things. If for some reason you have difficulty with using the online application, please reach out to us and we can work with you in another way to be able to submit your application. The application does give you the ability to work on it, save it, and go back. So it does not all need to be done in one session. And you would get a link emailed to you to go back and access the application as where you left off. So just a few guidelines and tips as you're filling out your application and things to keep in mind. We do want you to be specific and also realistic with your budget. Note if your match is secured or unsecured. We would prefer that you use the provided budget template that we have, which is an Excel sheet. Be sure, but there, if you're, if you are, if this is if this is part of a much larger project, and you have a different budget template, please reach out, if you have any questions about using that. Be sure to explain how your project furthers the Susquehanna Greenway, and our mission and our vision, and how that might help further, and how our visions maybe connect or align with this project. Also, make sure to outline your deliverables, and final products. So, and try to be specific, but also concise. So, and bulleted lists are perfectly okay. So, if it does not necessarily need to be really, long-winded wording, if you have a bulleted list of deliverables and outcomes and goals works best, then that's great for us too. So as an example, the project produced 3 interpretive signs, or 2 education programs were held, engaging 30 participants each. So just very quick, succinct, but specific deliverables or outcomes. Please list all of your partners and outline their commitment, especially if they are providing match. So if you are working with partners on this, we would love to see that. We would also like to make sure, as you're working through this, that it is realistic that the project can actually be completed within the 11-month time frame. And then please attach all needed materials to the application online. If for some reason you do need to submit by paper or email, the application does have that information on there, how to do that on the preview Word document, or you can reach out to us. All right, so quick overview of the timeline. Applications are due October 31st. We will be reviewing and making selection in November. And we will be notifying in early December. Once we've received final approval from DCNR, after all of our internal selection, then final approval from DCNR, and then we will be able to reach out and notify people. We usually try to notify individuals first before we do a press release, but then we will also be doing a press release to make an announcement. The contracting period will be January 1st through October 31st, and that is 2026. Sorry about that. Please note, even if you do not have a fully signed, executed, and approved by DCNR contract on the day of January 1st, you are still okay to move forward and begin your project. Sometimes there is, that whole process takes a little while, especially if you guys on your end need to get approval from your board, or have to wait for a monthly meeting. We understand that it can sometimes take some time. Once it comes back to us, we then also have to submit it to DCNR and get final approval. So understand that although that process may take a little longer, then January 1st, you are eligible to start your project and start incurring costs and expenses and volunteer match time or anything else related to your project as of January 1st. But then everything must be wrapped up by October 31st of 2026. And then we did provide 1 month for closeout there. So SGP, do we have specific sign design requirements? Actually, we do. We do have a sign guide, signage guide lines. Sorry, we are right in the middle of updating that. So that as we are finishing updating that, we will be able to provide that to you early on, hopefully in your contracting period. So it would just be how to use SGP's logo, and how to use, especially an acknowledgement of your project as a funder. So we do have that information. And like I said, we are currently updating it. The other one that we have is a few years old, and it has our old logo, and we have new logo and branding since then. So you will be receiving a copy of that as we're moving forward. And no, we do not have specific vendors that we are required to use, or you would be required to use. We can certainly offer suggestions if you are looking for those. but we do not have specific requirements. Yes. So yeah, we do have a number of companies that we have worked with or other grantees have worked with, and can help provide a little feedback about them. So if you're looking for ideas, please reach out. We can let you know. Okay. Any questions here about our timeline? Good. Okay, I wanted to kind of just give you a preview of what closeout is going to look like once you get there. So it would be you can start closeout upon completion of your project or after October 31st, 2026. We would just need 3 things from you for closeout, and that would be a 2-page success story using a template. So here is an example of what that template looks like. There are spots within the document that you would just plug in your logo or plug in your text, and then also plug in some pictures. So I tried to keep it pretty simple and short and sweet so that you're not spending an inordinate amount of time working on these, but all of the information that we need is there and concise and easy to read. We would just need your reconciled budget with any invoices or receipts. That would actually, you would be using the same budget that you submit in your proposal as your budget template, but this would just be reconciled out. So it is not a separate document or separate budget or separate template. So kind of try to keep it simple for you guys and clean. It would just be the actual budget versus the proposed budget. And then we also have a final payment request, which would be that 20% that's remaining. And that, I believe, takes us to the end here. So all of this information can be found on our website, or more information about the mini grant can be found on our website. You can also either email myself, or Leslie Warner is also on the call here. So if you do have any questions, we'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. Are there any more questions for today? Coming in, feel free to, if you wanted to talk to. You're welcome, Emily. We know what it's like to be on the other end of grants as well. So we really wanted to keep this as simple as we can, with also gathering all the information that we need. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and stop presenting. Great. Are there any more questions floating around out there? Anybody have any ideas that they wanted to talk about? And have questions if your any project ideas would be eligible, or anything like that. If not, then we will give you a few minutes back in your day. We have a couple coming in here, so. Well, thank you guys. Thank you all for coming. All right, if there's no other questions, then we'll say goodbye. Thank you guys so much for coming.